good. Any questions before we start?
What are we doing next?
Right, yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing. When I started meditating years ago, I found that I would fall asleep all the time.
Yeah.
Even when I wasn't doing it. I'd sort of drift back into it, and we were just discussing that, that's all. So what's your feelings on that? What causes that? Is it wanting to escape this to get into the state of meditate?
I'm not a sleep expert.
Okay. Because it's very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I do. There is something where people fall asleep when they get really stressed.
Yes.
I've seen my son do it. Ocean did it once. He saw these orange nurses in the children's field at Glastonbury Festival, and he just crawled into his chair, lay there like that, and then just went to sleep instantly.
Yeah, okay.
He wasn't like just switching off. I mean, he was actually asleep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that can happen.
Okay, yeah.
But, you know, some people fall asleep really easily, some people don't.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone that falls asleep easily. So I don't have experience of being someone that has a problem falling asleep when they're trying to meditate.
Right.
I have the opposite problem.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So some things you can do are having the temperature of the room set right. If the room's too warm, you can get sleepy. So if you make it slightly cold, so you're almost on the edge of being a little uncomfortable, that can keep you awake.
Yeah.
Also, my favourite time to meditate is in the morning, straight after having a coffee.
Okay.
So, you know, I feel relaxed because I've just been asleep, and I feel really alert because I've just had a coffee.
Okay.
And what else? I talked about this a few times in the other workshops about in Zen they have the guy who goes around with a stick that whacks you on the back.
Yeah.
You could employ someone to do that. Well, the easy way, what you could do is you could set a timer that makes a noise every 5 minutes or something.
Okay.
That just
Yeah.
like an alarm that
Yeah.
goes off every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, so those sort of things
Yeah.
I'd suggest.
Okay.
But I think the more you practice identifying as awareness, the kind of brighter that becomes, and the less often you'll fall asleep. Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. It's a problem I'd love to have. In a way. And there's one thing I wanted to say before we start is just thinking about things I've said up to this point today. I'm not at all promoting bypassing negative or painful experiences in life through doing meditation. So, or doing breathing practice. I know I was saying, like, if you get particularly stressed out or something, you can just kind of like focus on your breathing and just go right into it. That might be good in a really bad situation that is not good to experience. So, say if you're giving birth, the last thing you want to, as I was saying, last thing you want to be doing is thinking about what's happening. And where you've got, if you're just at the point where you're transitioning into pushing in birth, and you start thinking about what's going to be happening next, like that, you know, that's really going to get in the way of the process. So then that's just the right time to go right into your breathing and sort of like get all of that stuff out of the way, because it's just a serious situation. But if it's you've just had an argument with your partner or something like that, and you don't want to deal with the feelings it brings up, you might be tempted to just sort of forget about it and just focus on your breathing and get all nice and calm, and then get on with your day. And you haven't actually dealt with what's happened, or metabolized it, or received the information coming from these painful feelings of something needs to be done here. You've just sort of pushed it away. And the other thing is, you can do it with this identifying as awareness. You can basically end up, if you don't do it right, dissociating from everything in your life. So, somebody says something belittling about you or something like that, or they put you down and make you, and you could think, right, well, I don't care about that because I can just, go off into nothingness and it's all okay there because there's nothing to get me. So that's one of the sort of the traps along the way of doing this, is people can end up dissociating from life, and that's not what I'm saying, just in case there was any confusion about that. I've found the more I'm able to distance myself from everything, the more I'm able to get really intimate with it, because I've created more space for things to come right inside, and I'm not fending them off. So that's been my experience, but I've been lucky because I've come across certain literature or people that have warned me at the right moment about going down the wrong route. So I don't know if you've ever met anyone that's done lots and lots and lots of meditation practice or that kind of thing, and they're just like a living dead person. There's like no juice in them at all, because they've just kind of like dissociated from it all. You might not have, but if you go to monasteries or retreat centres and stuff, you'll see.
Is that healthy?
No, that's not at all healthy.
No.
That's exactly what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm recommending. That's the opposite. Yeah.
Why do they do it then? What's the attraction for them? Is it monks and things? Or?
Well, I think there's two things which make people do that that I'm thinking of right now. One is not having had an upbringing that has enabled them to deal with stressful emotions. They're not resilient people, and so the only way they can deal with it is through becoming addicted to something which numbs the pain, whether that is drug, heroin or those kind of things, or a serious meditation practice. A lot of addicts become really serious meditation practitioners, and vice versa. Like people that do a lot of meditation. There's a bit of an overlap. Becoming obsessed with things. There's a bit of an overlap there. And the other thing was that someone could have such a thirst to find out who they are and explore themselves that they just start going down a particular route, and they just keep going and going and going and going, and then they just get lost and get untethered from.
It's all for enlightenment, though, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
to help you reach a stage of enlightenment.
Buddha.
I've worked with the monks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it depends what your definition of enlightenment is,
Yeah.
but that a certain type of pursuit of enlightenment would take you down that route. And there was actually a stage in my life when, in my early 20s, where I really, really wanted to be a renunciate and just like give up all life and just go and live in a cave. Like literally, that's what I wanted to do. And I didn't. Yeah, I went. I mean, the nearest I got to that was I did 6 months on my own with a backpack in Scotland and Wales, and I just decided it wasn't what I wanted to do in my life. But some people do that, and they become specialists, and then if they learn some interesting things, they can share it with people. I'm more of a generalist. I'm interested in lots of things. You'd want to get. I've been in a situation once where I saw a celibate monk giving relationship advice to a lady asking about it, and also I've seen a guru giving advice on parenting when he had no children himself, and it's like, well, get some advice on some meditation techniques from that, but I'm not going to listen to any advice about how to raise children from someone that doesn't have children, or is celibate. They don't know anything about relationships. And the same, if somebody's never done any psychotherapy, I'll listen to what they've got to say about meditation, but I'm not prepared to take their advice on psychotherapeutic matters. So I think it's where you've got to be discerning with with a lot of these teachings that are out there and literature and people, that quite often you get this kind of personality cult thing happening where people think that a person's got the answers to everything. That's a recipe for disaster and exploitation. Handing over all your money, having sex, when you don't want to, leaving your family, all that kind of stuff, when you don't really want to. So it's quite, it's a. I mean, it's quite a. That's a whole nother world that I'm not going to get into today, and it's So you've got to be quite careful. There's a lot of people that are very manipulative and get you to do all sorts of crazy stuff. Right. So this one, you're going to like this one, Mandy. So this is a sort of visualization meditation, called Metta Bhavana, which means loving kindness. And what this is about, so this is not about, so in Buddhism they talk about wisdom and compassion being the two kind of like main things, and the wisdom part of it is what we were doing this morning, which is that Buddha mind, or something where you get this panoramic awareness thing going. And then the compassion practices are more heart-based practices to make you more loving, basically, and connected with people, to yourself and other people. And this is like a really old practice, thousands of years old, and it's like a staple of a lot of Buddhist practices. And a lot of people do meditation because they want to feel at one with everything. Do you know the joke about the pizza, where the Buddhist monk goes to a pizza place and says, "Make me one with everything"? Yeah. So it's a common thing to want to, not just a Buddhist thing, but people want to merge with the rest of humanity, like feel connected and be one with all living beings and the planet and all that kind of thing. It's a really noble aim, and also it's an insight into the connectedness of everything. But if you want to be one with everything, that does mean everything, not just the bits you like or the people you like. So this is a practice about generating really positive, heartfelt, good vibes towards starting with yourself, and then you move to someone that you really love a lot, like a dear friend or family member. Then you move to someone who you feel you got neutral feelings towards. Say someone who works in a shop or something where you go a lot, you never talk to them, but you know what they look like, and you know that you've. So then generating good feelings towards them, and then the next step is someone who you really dislike, is the next step, and then at the end just letting it all go and just kind of bathing in that kind of feeling of good vibes and positivity and heartfelt connection. Has anyone come across this practice before?
I've just started reading chapter on it. So.
Cool. Okay.
And
Great.
Reiki, you're meant to heal everyone when you Reiki. It's not just for people that you like, and it's for the shop owner down the road and your ex, and somebody that killed your cat 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I practice that with that.
With this has got a lot in common with that kind of practice, it's easy to feel these good feelings towards people that it comes naturally to, but when we do this session, I'm going to be working with Donald Trump. At the end, and the thing is that is to try and connect with the humanity of the person. So, one of the patterns with genocides is dehumanizing language. So, in Rwanda, and I didn't look this up before I started, but this is a memory I have of listening to a podcast about that conflict. There was they started calling each other cockroaches, not humans. So that's losing that connection with the humanity of people you have conflict with. It leads to it's a slippery slope down to like serious stuff like genocide. So that's how important this is. If you ever had an argument, so there's two types of arguments you can have with a person. One is where you say you're on the receiving end, you're having an argument with somebody, and you feel like they're just totally negating you as a person. They like that. If you've that feeling where they're not got any human connection with you anymore, you are just a complete pest to them, and you're not a person, and you can feel that kind of conflict, versus an argument with someone who deeply loves you. Say like you might be having an argument with your parents or one of your children or something, and you can still feel that connection, humanity, the human connection between you, even though you're going to the same level of intensity of the argument. And they're quite different things. And I think this kind of practice steers you more towards the ability to have differing views and opinions to people, and have arguments and conflict, but without ever losing that connection of humanity between you. Which I think, when it comes to activism and that kind of thing, if you want people to listen to you, if you treat them like they're subhuman or not human, they're not going to listen to you. Whereas if you keep that channel open, they're going to be much more receptive. Something I feel a lot about environmental activism and stuff. They just spend a lot of time telling everyone, companies and corporations, how evil they are and dehumanising them, and then it's like it's not a very fertile ground for delivering a message. So that's just setting the context for this kind of practice, how it can be a benefit. So let's do it. So what we're going to do, we'll do about so the last stage of this, sorry, I forgot to say, is you extend that feeling to all living creatures, wherever they are, whatever type of living being it is. You've been kind of generating this kind of ball of good feelings, and then you're just pushing that out all over to all living creatures everywhere. And the last thing to say before we start is, with visualization, you've got your 5 senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, touching and tasting. Different people have different ones which work best for them. Some people are visual people, some people are tactile. So when you're visualizing these people, do it your way. So if you're a very tactile person, you might actually see yourself. So you can let your imagination run wild with this one. Okay. So you might be actually hugging someone or like stroking their hair or that kind of thing. Or if you're a visual person, you might visualize kind of like, the classic kind of golden light thing coming from your chest and, moving into them, or that kind of thing. Or if you might be having a conversation with somebody. Yeah. So you can really run with it, but don't limit it to one thing. And one of the traditional instructions is to repeat, may I be happy, may I be well, all that kind of thing. And I think I'd advise not doing that, because that can just become rote, and you're just like a zombie. They go, oh, be happy, be blah blah blah. Yeah, you get really creative with it. Ready? So we'll do 25 minutes, 5 minutes on each thing, and I'll just be a little bit of a guided thing. Okay. So just get comfortable. Just take a minute to just settle. So you're going to start with yourself. And you might find it easy to love yourself or really difficult, but we're going to start with you. And we're just going to spend a few minutes, however you want to do it, but make it real, make it really feel authentic. And in whatever way you're going to do it, give yourself some genuine, authentic love from the heart. Now bring to mind someone who you're very close to you, that you really love dearly. And do the same with them. You're really wishing the best for this person. bring to mind someone who you don't have any strong feelings towards. And in whatever way is appropriate for you to do, really, really wanting the best for that person. You give that to them however you see it happening. Person you strongly dislike. What is it about this person you can find to love, in your heart to love? The challenge is for you to find that about that person. they're somebody's child, and also probably someone's parent too. There are people that really love this person. What is it that they love about this person? comes naturally to you. Extend that feeling to any living creature on this planet or any other planet. Wherever there's life, extending this feeling of connectedness and care. You might work your way through, starting off with mammals, and then birds, and then reptiles, fish, and then insects. Microscopic organisms. You can work out that way, if that works for you. one thing I want to say before I ask people to share is no, I'm going to let you share and then I'm going to say afterwards. Okay, so who's got something to say?
Well, my heart chakra's pulling. It feel it pushing it out there quite strong. I wasn't in the room either. I opened my eyes to find myself in the room.
Yeah, this is an invitation to really, go out there, isn't it?
Yeah, had struggles finding a hating one. Not just because I don't hate people, but I had to go corporate. Like, all child molesters everywhere. All because I couldn't think of anyone that I actually.
Oh, a specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it does need to be a person
Yeah, I couldn't
that
find
you can
anyone.
make a personal relationship. It doesn't really work if you think of like Monsanto or something like that.
I was thinking,
It's a bit
Charles
faceless.
Manson. I don't know. Yeah. I'm certainly a struggle with the hate.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the person you strongly dislike,
Yeah.
you can work your way up to the big kahuna.
Yeah,
You know,
but, yeah, no, I struggle with that one. Yeah.
mm,
I mean, my ex, I still love him. So.
yeah. There'll be someone that you need to think more about it.
I had to think, yeah.
You know, but what you say about the heart thing, the practices we did earlier today, that kind of panoramic awareness feels a bit like kind of expanding out of the head almost, and then the breathing is sort of like this kind of thing, and then this is, feels more centered in here and kind of a warm.
I found my breath was a bit short, it wasn't going down into
Yeah.
diaphragm, so it was much more top level breathing without really realising it.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I tried to use the I'm sorry.
No, you go.
After you.
I guess what I was reading was similar. Well, as you mentioned at the start, not sort of reciting, and I guess in a way I was to what I've been doing. So it's quite nice to do something where, it was actually really just having to think about your intentions. And yes, I thought it's quite warming.
I think it's really important to make it generate an authentic feeling.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about. It's not a mental exercise. It's like deeply personal and authentic. And I think because everybody's so unique, you need to find what's the way that you can do that.
Yeah, I struggled with the dislike too, but I think I found someone that I didn't strongly dislike, but maybe
Yeah.
just a little bit, and then sort of worked on that. But yeah, I have to give that some thought as well, I think.
Yeah.
That's all good.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you can work up. You don't have to start off with Adolf Hitler. You can work your way up to that.
Yeah.
That's the sort of like advanced level.
I found that the hardest bit was at the beginning where you had to think about loving kindness to yourself. I found that quite hard, and it was almost like towards the end it kind of got into a flow. So I thought about the person I love is my mum, and I thought about her, and then I went out to this neighbour of mine who never speaks to you, looks away, and she doesn't want to talk, and she always looks really sad. So I thought about her, and then I went out, and then it kind of got into a flow then, and so I felt that energy coming back to me, but I couldn't feel it in the beginning towards myself.
This is a practice developed by people from Asia, who generally don't struggle in the same way that we do with loving themselves. I think part of it might be to do with our religious background in Western Europe and America, of the Christian doctrines to do with original sin and those sort of things, which there's some similar things in Asia, but not quite like that, where that's the feeling of just being guilty for existing. And also these were developed in an age where the psychological sophistication to do with the personality we've developed over the last few hundred years, and through really dissecting it and going into it, that creates all those psychological problems that a lot of us have got now in this day and age. They were not quite the same. So starting with yourself can actually be quite difficult. It seems like a logical sequence, but maybe it might be better to put yourself somewhere out in a later stage. So you might start with someone that you really care about naturally, and you might put yourself, further. Or if you hate yourself, that might be you know what I mean. You might be down the end. It just seems neat to start with yourself and then move out, but that doesn't mean it has to be that way. If you does that make sense? Yeah. That's my feelings. I'm going off piste here from the traditional version of it. Mandy, you were gonna.
I just wondered, did anybody sort of communicate with people? Because I wonder if when you're meditating, if you're on a cosmic plane, if it's kind of a good way of sending messages, sort of use it as a communicative kind of.
It could be. I can't comment that much on that because I haven't had a lot.
Cosmic, isn't it?
A lot of personal experience with that, so I don't know. But if you want to say something about it.
I just found myself kind of speaking to the people that I was visualising. So in a sort of a messaging sense, because you can't be with everybody that you love, can you? So
yeah.
I just wondered if anyone else did that.
So telling
Sort of
people,
like,
as well as just pushing the feeling,
Yeah.
but telling people.
I was definitely having conversations.
Just sort of concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think anything back.
Yeah, nothing back. Just sending it out. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Anybody else want to say anything?
I think for myself, again, it was loving yourself was not, I don't know if it was the hardest thing, but for me, it felt right to go back to when I was a child, but to see myself as a child, to the times when perhaps I thought I needed to be told or to be loved, and then loving yourself as you are now. So that's how I visualised it, really. For me to go back as the age I am now, back to certain points in childhood.
Yeah. So what your suggestion there is an important thing, I think, in this process where you can move in towards something. So you might find it easier to love yourself if you kind of pop out from yourself and become your parents. You might become your mum or something and look at yourself through your mum's eyes and really feel how much, when your mum looks at you, how much she's proud of you and loves you, and even when you're doing things that you think are really embarrassing or whatever, she's just like, oh, it's so cute, that being one step away from you directly just loving yourself as you are. So it can be a little bit easier to just slightly pop out of yourself and be almost, it's like a little bit of dissociation makes it a bit easier. So I found myself popping out into being my mum, sitting on the sofa over there, watching me here, talking, playing with the kids and stuff, and how just the warmth of feeling she give to me for just being me. Nothing I need to do. I can embarrass myself, do something really good. I can look really healthy, or I could look like utter crap. She just feels really, really positive about me, and I noticed myself kind of doing that, and I was like, because of studying psychology and stuff, I know that what I was slightly dissociating there to do, but that kind of like generated the feeling, and then I brought myself back to me, loving myself as I am, which is definitely a challenge, because there's parts of everyone has parts of themselves they struggle to love.
Yeah, and I found it easier in a way, or just as easy to love somebody that you truly don't like. And in my terms it was Donald Trump as well, but then there was just, I think there's part of him that you realise is just a lost kind of soul, if you like, Donald Trump, in that he's, for all his failures, he's just this kind of child. So there is a part of everybody, I think, that you could possibly love.
Well, I found myself doing this dissociating thing with Donald Trump. So when I started with him, we were shipwrecked on a desert island. It was just me and him, and we were there living our days out, and he was getting older and ill and dying, and there I was, like, there was a fire on the beach, and I had his head in my lap, and he was in a lot of pain, and afraid and all that stuff, and I was just stroking his orange hair. Probably his hair is lost in the sea, and it's just a bald head. But and then I was like, oh, hang on, no, this is trying to love Donald Trump not as he is, but in a fantasy. So I started dissociating from it. So then I was like, I brought myself back to, him in his suit in the Oval Office, signing some paper. It's like him as he is. And yeah, he's somebody's parent. He's got children, and he's got parents, or had parents, and Pete there and. Good friend. People love Donald Trump. There are people that really love him, and it's like, what do they love in him that I'm finding difficult to locate? I've lost what I was going to say. Oh yeah, that and I think this was the key. One of the key things with the connection with the thing that connects you to all living creatures in this caring sense is that anything that lives can suffer, and that's a cause for care. Donald Trump, in whatever way he is, he's suffering, even if he doesn't realise it. He's suffering, and his by the sounds of it, his dad was a really horrible guy, and he had a terrible upbringing and whatnot. And I don't want to spend too much time with Donald Trump, but yeah. And I think when you extend out to like amoebas and things like that, it's like they're so far away phylogenetically from, or whatever the term is, from where we are. And some of them they're not part of a family. They don't have sexual reproduction and all that kind of stuff. So what's there? Because one of the easy ways to feel a connection with different people and mammals and those sort of things is that family connection. You feel like that person is part of a family that love them, and then it's like you can feel like we're all part of a family of living creatures. But then when you get to animals that don't have families, what's the kind of connection there? And for me, what was coming up was that they can still suffer. They can be in pain. You know, what they're hungry, or the chemicals are wrong around them, or it's too hot or too cold, and you know they're suffering. And it's like, and that kind of feeling like you want to help is a way of connecting with the really far out creatures. Anyone else?
I guess I found that what we were doing just then much more difficult than the sorts of things we were doing this morning, and the sorts of meditation things that I've done before have been much more sort of introverted and thinking about yourself and contextualising how you view things, but actually putting out to other people I actually found really difficult. And I've actually done a meditation like that, similar like that, on an app, and it was one of the ones where it prompted you with what you should say, and it was much easier having that prompt, whereas actually just having a blank canvas and thinking of your own way to express to the other people I found really hard. So
Well, it takes practice, like any of these things, it takes practice.
and it's interesting to hear what other people did, like the way that they...
Yeah, there's this way. Yeah, it's good to talk to people because there's all sorts of different ways you can find a way into this practice. But if it's something you haven't done a lot, then you can't expect to like just suddenly be, you know, running off with it and doing all sorts of amazing things. It's a bit like picking up a guitar for the first time and just, you know, you're not going to be doing that. You just, yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I this is a practice which in terms of the amount of hours I put into this, far less than the ones we've done before. So it's you know, and I'm realistic about that. And so when I'm doing it, if it's going a bit crazy, that's fine. I'm just practicing. It's quite good to be playful with it and like, okay, you know, this is better. One thing I wanted to say is that there's a distinction between blind compassion, or as sometimes people call it, idiot compassion, where you're just like, it's just a blanket thing of like, oh, I'm just going to be really kind to everybody or love everybody, regardless of whatever. And that I think we're not trying to generate that kind of thing, where real, authentic caring can come in lots of different ways. And say, you know, somebody who's really I'm going to bring up Donald Trump again. So it's like Donald Trump, to love and care for Donald Trump would look different than loving and caring for your child or something. You know, that kind of like, yeah. I'm finding it a bit difficult to articulate it, but do you know what I mean?
Blanket love.
That,
Throwing a big blanket over everyone.
yeah, in a way that's so. Yeah, I think this is what I'm trying to say. This kind of practice could end up, if not done properly, making you vulnerable to exploitation from other people by saying, right, I'm just going to love everybody and they can do whatever they like because I love them, because I've been doing this loving kindness meditation, and you know, this is what I'm doing now. And that's not what the aim of this is. Sometimes the appropriate action with somebody is to push them away. You know, so it's not you're not trying to become an idiot that just pretends to love everybody and puts yourself in harm's way, and yeah. So that's not the aim of this one. Anything else anyone wants to say? How did you feel about this one compared with the previous ones we've done today? Do you like this one? I mean, because all of these different types of meditation practices are going to draw certain types of people to it.
I think I found it more difficult in the same way as he did, in terms of guidance and not having considered. I don't know. Yeah, just
Well, if it
more freedom, you know, it's more difficult.
too much freedom.
Is it more of a healing meditation?
Definitely. Yeah.
Use it to heal others, yourself.
Yeah.
If you go multi with it, can you really
Yeah.
visualise anything?
This is about
Need to-
healing yourself and the world. You know,
Basically,
it's
yeah.
that.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, so some people would become real adepts at this particular meditation. Just this would be the focus of their practice, and a lot of practitioners. This is it. There's a famous. So there's a Tibetan practice called Tonglen, where you breathe in the suffering of people, and then you breathe out love and good vibes, basically. So you're just taking in all the crap and purifying it and breathing out good stuff. And that's a really big staple, major practice in Tibetan Buddhism.
Could do it the other way round
I was
for
gonna say
yourself.
the other way round.
Yeah. Breathing
What's
love and breathe out all the
Yeah.
crap inside.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you could do that too if you wanted to heal yourself,
You
maybe.
could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're going through a shit time or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a good way of getting yourself feeling back.
One thing people worry about that practice is they think that if you keep doing that, surely you're going to end up like with you know creating diseases and stuff in your body, you know.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
actually,
You're used
d-
to
it-
purify,
Yeah, and if you're visualizing inhaling disease and death and illness and stuff, and breathing out good, you know, health and vitality and all of that, the force, that's going to destroy your body and mind. But actually, it's not, when people do it for 30 years, that's not actually what happens. So it's something you don't need to be afraid of if you're going to go down that route with the Tonglen.